Most people are not lazy, they're just programmed. Programmed to react, to survive, to meet expectations. Programmed to believe that if they just work harder, life will eventually make sense. But deep down, they know it's not working. They wake up tired, they chase shallow wins, they numb the emptiness with scrolls, tasks, distractions. That's where this book isn't just a book. It's a rescue mission. It's a total shift from external validation to internal direction. It hands you a new operating system, one that rewires your day-to-day living. From chaos into clarity. From pressure into power. And it all begins with habit 1. Be proactive. You are not your past. You are not your parents' voice. You are not the algorithm. You are not your trauma. You are the gap between stimulus and response. And in that gap, you can choose. Most people are reactive. Someone insults them, they attack or shrink. Something goes wrong, they blame or avoid. They live like emotional puppets, tugged by moods, trends, fear. But proactive people, they pause. They breathe. They choose. And that's not just noble, it's powerful. Covey doesn't start with goals. He starts with identity. Because until you believe that you are the architect of your response, no habit will stick. Nothing else matters. Being proactive means owning your language. Not I can't, but I won't. Not they make me feel, but I'm feeling this, and here's what I'll do. It's a shift from victim to author. And here's the kicker. The moment you speak like a creator, your brain begins to rewire. Literally. You shift out of limbic panic and into prefrontal clarity. You take the steering wheel back from the world. This habit is not about pretending everything's fine. It's about reclaiming the power to respond with alignment to your values, even when life is unfair. You don't need a perfect past. You need a present moment filled with choice. That's where habit 1 lives, and that's where your power begins. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. If habit 1 is the power to choose, habit 2 is the power to direct. It answers the terrifying question, what are you choosing for? Imagine your own funeral. Morbid? Maybe. But Covey takes you there for a reason. Because until you confront the end, you'll live scattered. You'll confuse activity for impact. You'll keep sprinting nowhere. Habit 2 is about vision-based living. Not goal-chasing, not ladder climbing, but building from the inside out. You ask, what kind of father, leader, artist, builder do I want to be? What principles do I want whispered about me when I'm gone? And if success cost me my soul, would I still want it? Most people don't ask these questions until it's too late. But when you do, you get a blueprint. You begin with your legacy, not your schedule. Covey urges you to write a personal mission statement, not a slogan, but a compass. A document that reminds you, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. And this is how I'll show up, no matter what noise surrounds me. And here's the twist. When you begin with the end in mind, everything else becomes easier to prioritize. You stop negotiating with your values. You stop getting seduced by urgency. You stop saying yes to things that betray your deeper why. Habit 2 makes your life cohesive. Because clarity compounds. It's not about having all the answers. It's about knowing which questions are worth asking. So you've reclaimed your power to choose. You've defined your end goal with piercing clarity. Now comes the test. Can you align your actions with your vision consistently? This is where most people break. They feel inspired one day and overwhelmed the next. They craft a mission and then betray it with 1,000 tiny urgencies. They don't mean to drift, but life is loud, fast, full of fire alarms. And without a system, they go right back to surviving. Habit 3, put first things. First is not a time hack. It's not about squeezing more into your day. It's a philosophy of energy. It asks, what do I owe my future self? And what am I doing today that's stealing from it? This habit isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most, even when it's inconvenient, unsexy, or invisible. Covey's time matrix is a diagnostic mirror. It divides everything you do into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent and important, crises, deadlines, emergencies. Now quadrant the 2, not urgent but important, planning, rest, learning, relationship building, strategy. Quadrant the 3, urgent but not important, emails, calls, interruptions that feel pressing but don't move you forward. Quadrant WARF, not urgent and not important, mindless scrolling, distractions, procrastination, numbing. Here's the trap. Most people live in quadrant 1 and 3. They feel busy, exhausted, productive even. But they're not growing. They're not evolving. They're just reacting. Quadrant 2 is where greatness lives. It's the space of long-term leverage. It's where you journal instead of binge, where you call a mentor instead of refresh Instagram, where you read to sharpen your mind instead of escaping from it. But quadrant 2 is quiet. It doesn't beg for your attention. You have to fight for it. So how do you live there? First, you schedule your values. You don't wait to feel ready. You block time for the person you want to become. Now, weekly planning, lock it in. Now, deep work blocks, guard them like gold. Rest, real rest, not guilt-laced TV marathons. Family rituals, even if it's just 15 minutes of presence. If it's not in your calendar, it's not in your life. Second, you say no to false urgency. You don't owe everyone an instant reply. You don't need to attend every meeting, answer every ping, solve every problem. Proactive people aren't rude. They're rooted. They know their yes means nothing if they can't say no. Third, you let go of perfection. The vision from habit 2 can become a weapon if you think you need to execute it flawlessly. You don't. Habit 3 is about alignment, not performance. Did you act in the direction of your vision today, even a little? That's a win. Every time you honor a priority over a distraction, you prove to your nervous system that you're becoming the person you promised yourself. Because at the end of the day, your calendar doesn't lie. It reflects who you serve, your fear, your ego, or your vision. Habit 3 is the bridge from intention to embodiment. And once you build that bridge, you don't just feel motivated. You feel trusted by yourself. Up to this point, everything's been about you, your mindset, your vision, your calendar. But life doesn't happen in isolation. Greatness isn't built in a cave. The next evolution of mastery isn't internal, it's relational. You can have vision, strategy, and discipline. But if your relationships are reactive, passive, or manipulative, you're stuck. You're limited. Because your influence ends where your ego begins. This is where the next 3 habits step in. They're the architecture of interdependence. Not dependence, not codependence, and not toxic independence, but real synergy. Habit 4, think win-win. At the core of this habit is a radical truth. There is no real success at the expense of others. Most people are programmed with a scarcity mindset. If you win, I lose. If you shine, I shrink. So they negotiate, relate, and lead from fear, from ego, from insecurity. But win-win doesn't mean being soft. It doesn't mean sacrificing your needs. It means committing to outcomes where both people walk away better. This requires high courage and high consideration. Courage to speak your needs, consideration to listen for theirs. It's not compromise, it's creation. And when 2 proactive people meet with a win-win mindset, magic happens. Teams elevate. Trust accelerates. Innovation multiplies. This is how you lead without manipulation. This is how you partner without resentment. This is how you negotiate without losing your soul. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people pretend to listen, but they're just reloading. They're not hearing, they're waiting for their turn to speak. And this breaks everything. Relationships, teams, families. You cannot influence someone you don't understand. Real listening isn't passive. It's active, intentional, presence-filled. You don't listen to fix. You listen to see. You don't listen to reply. You listen to mirror. And when people feel truly heard, their defenses drop. Their walls dissolve. Their fear calms. And they become open not just to you, but to themselves. Covey calls this empathic listening. It means you reflect emotions. You clarify meaning. You echo intent. You make them feel safe in your presence. Then and only then do you speak. And when you do, your words actually land. They resonate. Because the other person finally feels like you earned your turn. This habit turns relationships into trust engines. It makes you magnetic not because of your charisma, but because of your care. Habit 6, synergize. This habit is often the most misunderstood. People think synergy means teamwork, but it's deeper than that. Synergy means that when we combine, not just agree, we create something neither of us could have built alone. It's the dance between differences, the celebration of creative tension, the magic of saying, "You don't think like me. Perfect. Let's build something we never imagined." Most people seek agreement. Synergists seek alignment. They don't fear disagreement. They welcome it as raw material for evolution. This is the highest level of human collaboration, where your ego dies and something bigger is born, where innovation replaces compromise, where 1 plus 1 equals 11. These 3 habits aren't communication tactics. They're leadership philosophies. And when practiced together, they make you unstoppable in the real world. Because people don't follow the loudest person in the room. They follow the one who makes them feel seen, safe, and stretched. If everything before this was about building power, habit 7 is how you keep it. It's the habit that prevents burnout, disconnection, and slow self-betrayal. Without it, every other habit eventually collapses under the weight of fatigue. Covey calls it sharpen the saw. But this isn't self-care the way the internet sells it. This is deep, intentional renewal. Think of yourself as a system with 4 dimensions. In body, your physical energy, strength, stamina. Mind, your ability to think, learn, and decide. Heart, your capacity for empathy, love, relationships. Spirit, your alignment with meaning, purpose, mission. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're either sharpening or dulling each of these blades. You stay up late scrolling, you dull the body. You avoid a hard conversation, you dull the heart. You skip reflection, you dull the spirit. You overconsume and undercreate, you dull the mind. Most people don't notice it until one day they collapse. They've got the skills, the goals, the resume, but they're tired, bitter, stuck. Why? Because they haven't renewed. Habit 7 is about protecting your edge. It's not selfish to rest. It's not lazy to walk in silence. It's not indulgent to unplug, to read, to journal, to stretch, to sit by yourself in a quiet room and feel your pulse again. Because here's the truth. Your performance is only as sustainable as your renewal. You can't give empathy if you're emotionally starved. You can't lead if your body's on fire from burnout. You can't create if your spirit has gone dark from overuse and underalignment. Renewal isn't a luxury. It's a discipline. And the most dangerous people alive, dangerous in the best sense, are those who can sustain their power because they take care of the system generating it. Sharpening the saw means exercising with intention, not just to look good, but to feel alive. Reading deeply, not for info, but for transformation. Practicing silence, not for productivity, but for perspective. And reconnecting with people who remind you who you are. And then when you return to habit 1, you're not the same. This is what Covey calls the upward spiral. Each time you rotate through these habits again, you're higher, wiser, calmer, sharper. You begin to live from cause, not effect. You stop reacting. You begin creating. You stop performing. You start becoming. And you realize this isn't just a framework. It's a way of life, a code for being a force in the world. This book, this philosophy isn't about being effective in the shallow corporate sense. It's about being whole, aligned, dangerous in the direction of what matters. You don't just work better. You live better. You breathe deeper. You walk into rooms differently, and people feel it. So if you've made it here, know this. You're not just learning new habits. You're returning to your real self. Now go sharpen the saw. Then pick it up and build something that outlasts you.